Hi everyone, Val here, and today is going to be a little different. I'm coming up on 10 years of collecting everything anime here on YouTube, and I want to discuss some of my favorite DVD finds. Originally I wanted to call this video Obscure Anime Finds, but that is such a sliding definition depending on how much anime any individual has consumed. What may be obscure to me may be business as usual for someone else, especially when I consider my personal friend group and my viewers. You guys are really well informed. Instead, I'm going to be focusing on anime that surprised me in these videos. And if certain anime doesn't appear in this video, be assured it's going to appear in a future one. Just let me cook a bit. I have way too many anime that I want to feature in one way or another. Also, DVD quality can vary, so forgive any roughness in my captures here. To me, it's part of the charm, but it's not always viewed that way in our increasingly HD world. With all of that said, let's dive into a few of my favorite titles. Humanity Has Declined is hardly a title to throw on the obscure list, but it's one I had no prior knowledge of before my watch. Perhaps it has fallen off the current anime community's dialogue due to its age, but I and a few others refuse to let it fall off the radar completely. This 2012 anime is a little difficult to classify, but totally worth attempting. A post-apocalyptic comedy is accurate but fails to sell the stronger aspects of the series. Instead, I want to emphasize how much this anime is a cynical, hopeful, farcical satire dressed up in pastel frills. Farce is, by definition, a comic or dramatic work using buffoonery and horseplay, and typically including crude characterization and ludicrously improbable situations. Think of post-apocalyptic faulty towers lavishly moified. We follow Watashi on her day-to-day in a ruined world where humans exist in declining numbers. Her job is to act as the liaison to the fairy race, and this is really important. The fairy race is the reason humans are actually surviving in this declining world. The chaotic, literal, and overpowered little fairies and their increasingly bizarre scenarios are what drive the series. It's all a play on humanity's former culture taken to the extreme, and boy do they deliver.
Hey boy, これは麻薬電話？逮捕。
Fairy mass industry, reuniting robot aliens, forming a micro-empire, a yaoi revolution.
そしてこれですよ。この同性愛専門図書館。集めに集めた珠玉のコレクション。燃える話はまだあるさ。そう。私はどこまでも腐っていける。
A banana-filled time loop. And this is just to name a few. Let's go back to those pastel frills because they are wonderful. The decay of civilization and the overgrowth of the natural world are lovingly rendered. Everything from the pastoral to the mundane to the insane are built up with these digital watercolor brushes. It makes everything familiar yet hazy, almost like a memory. It's really interesting to see the variety of objects that they have and how it's used in the series. The sugar-coated facade juxtaposes with the insane dialogue hilariously, adding to its delirious feel. The memory effect is heightened by the sequence the whole anime takes place, as each episode going forward is another step back into Watashi's past, revealing the events that brought us to the no-nonsense character we met in the first episode. Watashi is hands down one of my favorite anime protags. She is disciplined, insightful, blunt, caring, and the anchor holding down a very whimsical anime. I'm really impressed with how they were able to balance everything and still keep it really light. despite some of the darker tones that it can reach. I highly recommend following her story and seeing what happens to these little fairies and the humanity that has declined.
おじさん死んだの？うん。もう会えないの？うん。どこにもいないの？それが死ぬってことだから。そっか。そう。
Have you ever thought about your last message? Do you know who it would be to, or what it would convey? Shigofumi is an exploration of this very idea. To put it more bluntly, it is a meditation on death itself. It's not limited to the way one meets their end, either, but rather the state in which it leaves those who are left behind. With a focus on the anger, depression, rejection, isolation, consequences, and the unanswered questions we have for the departed. This and more is done through the supernatural beings of the Gospel Office delivering the Shigofumi.
死後の世界から届く手紙だ。だから、死後踏み。死んだ人間が最後に残したメッセージ。それが、死後踏み。
We follow our stoic yet dedicated mail carrier, Fumika, as she delivers the otherworldly final words of the recently deceased. Never a judge of its contents, nor of the people who receive the Shigofumi, she is ever vigilant in her task. With this, we do gain the ground rules of the Gospel Office and its mail carriers. The mail carriers themselves are the dead. Each carrier gains a region in which they deliver Shigofumi. Carriers may linger if they desire, but they are never to alter the contents of the Shigofumi nor the lives of the living. And it's required that each carrier is accompanied by a Gospel Office staff. In Fumika's case, Kanaka, the extra talkative human wannabe. Consider this show two sides of the same blade. Half of its plot are the intimate stories around the Shigofumi Fumika delivers, and the other half being the mystery of Fumika herself. After all, carriers are deceased beings who are suspended in time. However, Fumika continues to grow in age. Shigofumi has this slow, dark, brooding presence. It's halfway between the washed-out 2000s anime aesthetic and the slick 2010s anime styling we would see later on. This gives the production a hauntingly beautiful world that can easily slip between delightful and nightmarish as you sit with these episodes. A lot of time is spent focusing on the situations and inner machinations of the characters receiving their letters. Each standalone episode highlights its own themes while feeding into the developing mystery of Fumika. This services the world building of Shigofumi while also building our personal attachment to Fumika. I won't spoil the final revelation here, but I can promise you that the individual stories bear just as much, if not more, emotional weight, making the series one of my favorite finds. I'm sure it's a given at this point with the subject matter at hand, but yeah, every trigger warning I could list is in this series. Much of it is presented with this plain matter-of-factness that somehow makes it come across even more cruel. So if you are sensitive to abusive media, viewer discretion is advised. And yet, life, fleeting, joyful, loving, and beautiful in all of its ways, are highlighted all the more through Shigofumi's bleaker tones. I love the way the characters joke with each other, the way our detective takes time to have breakfast with his family every morning, and the way friends will just hang out and play video games. Just the same way life goes on, Shigofumi reminds me of that very fact, and I'm always going to be a little bit attached to this one.
Oh, hi there! I'm Princess Lapis and I live in Sorcererland. Believe it or not, I can use the great power of the magic eraser to help people and do stuff. That's cool! Don't you think so, friends?
I have a real love affair going on with older OVAs right now. There is a level of creative experimentation on display in even the most casual OVAs that I feel is missing in modern anime. My favorite always happens to be a random OVA I've pulled off some thrift store shelf, leading me to witness at least some handsome background art or cell animation every time. One that resulted in absolute delight was my completely blind buy for the OVA Detatoko Princess. In our story, Princess Lapis is tossed from her home through a magic mirror by her well-meaning but silly parents to travel through Sorcererland and gain a little maturity along the way. She is flung a little too far off course, causing her adventure back to her home castle to go through some treacherous areas. Not to fear though, as she is accompanied by her tutor, her flower fairy, and her immortal himbo. Our princess is no slouch herself in the magical department, as the pudding-powered princess has the ability to transform and use her spell, Magic Eraser. Yeah, I'm being serious here. This is classic grade A anime nonsense here. Faces will warp with giant watery eyes, characters will be flung to the skies, and the surreal will be on full display. Jokes are beaten to death over its short runtime, and it's something I really need to mention before I recommend it outright. However, strangely, it all works really well given the level of commitment to these scenarios and to the level of art this OVA allows. The characters and interactions always remain wholly themselves, committing fully to their comedic bits, their heroic bits, and even the few wholesome moments. It's the main strength of Hitoshi Okuda's characters writing that fine line between completely absurd and completely cool, playing with both fantasy character tropes as well as the fantasy genre itself.
How very interesting. So that little brat has left the castle, and not even the king and queen can help her now.
Take, for example, one of my favorite characters, the rival, the sorceress, the best baddie, Lady Topaz. She looks amazing, has her own minions, her own territory, and outstanding magical powers. She's also on her own personal quest to collect and care for the beautiful girls of the world. Now honestly, that's just me with my figure collection. You can recognize that she is supposed to be the evil sorceress to the good sorceress Lapis, but both are so playful, hopeful, and realistic in their tiresome travels, you can't help but fall in love with both of these ditzy girls.
What the heck do you think you're doing here, huh? I'm trying to burn down the pudding forest for the mayor! Huh? Shut up when I'm talking to you, will you? Understand? Who cares? Come on out, Topaz Groupie! Fighter Rai!
Hello there! My name is Rai.
And the same can be said for this whole cast, honestly. It really helps that the designs and the styling of this whole world are just so lovely for such a short OVA, but the brevity of the story is partly its strength, as none of these characters overstay their welcome. So, if you need an hour and a half of fantasy silliness to round out your night, may I suggest the OVA Detatoko Princess.
I love pudding! Huh? That's true! Yummy! 光学ファインダー覗いて雲よく飽きないわね。一緒じゃないの雲なんて。いつ撮ってもどれ撮っても違うんだなこれが。何が違うの？雲は雲じゃん。私が撮ってるのは雲とね。雲と風。風？そう、風。
Windy Tales should be on a lot of people's anime lists. Lists for fun female leads, lists for chill summer vibes, lists for slice of life, and maybe even a place on your future anime watch list. Fujin Monogatari may have had a late start here in the US due to the fact that it didn't gain a license until 2013, a full 9 years after its original 2004 airing. I only picked it up myself after seeing the DVD through numerous Sentai Filmworks sales. My best sales pitch for Windy Tales is the way it's a love letter to both adolescence and to animation itself. To start, we follow along with Nao, president of the Digital Photography Club, as she takes pictures with best friend Mickey and good boy Jun. While taking photos of the clouds from the school rooftop, she discovers a plethora of flying cats. Lots of cats. In fact, this anime is just full of cats. This leads her and her friends to the quiet little wind village, home of the wind users. From here, she learns how to control a small portion of the wind, altering her view of the world around her and the photos she takes along the way. As lofty as that premise may sound, it's only the setup to the rest of the series structure. The bulk of the show is our young characters navigating the last year of their middle school life. They are living between the line of comfortable childhood and yearning for more adult life experiences. It's just pleasant watching everyone interact with each other, with people in different age groups, and people from different areas. There is no challenge to the viewer here. No slipping into a darker teenage angst. Instead, we just spend time with our very sweet cast. Windy Tales opts for the Iyashike brand of viewing here, allowing us to sit with nostalgic suburban vibes from summer vacation all the way to spring blossoms. All of this while exploring the many facets the wind has on their quiet lives. The wind being demonstrated in all of its forms, from freeing to comforting to terrifying. Multicolored lines will swoop around the screen, showing the wind. The colors of various scenes will shift with the emotions embodied in them, and the animation will effortlessly bounce around from static to the joyous freedom that the medium allows. All of which is supported by the gorgeous soundtrack done by none other than Kenji Kawai. It's honestly mesmerizing to watch. One of my personal favorite aspects are the naturalistic scenes throughout this anime. It uses a minimalistic, even gestural approach to the background art. I'm particularly fond of the clouds in these backgrounds. Splashes of bright blue across white leave the negative white spaces on the screen that read as clouds to our eyes. Also, light. The way light is depicted physically dancing through the spaces of a scene melt my heart. It really speaks to the artist inside of me. And I hope it does for you too, especially if you need some flights of fancy to watch. Give Windy Tales a try next time you want a calm anime before bed. These are all the anime I'm going to talk about today, but still, I hope everyone enjoyed this one. I know it's a bit of a departure from my usual videos, but don't worry, hauls, figures, and chats are still on their way. And I didn't even get to talk about everything I wanted to mention, like the DVD menus for all of these anime, which are so charming in their own right, and the extras, like the audio dramas that are included on Shigofumi. Just look at these illustrations, they're so cute, and a little bit of extra insight into the characters. I plan on doing a couple more videos in this style for my friends who asked, so if you want to suggest another anime that I should spotlight, please feel free to do so in the comments. Just note, I'm more willing to use anime that I already own. As always, thank you for watching. If you made it this far, go ahead and give me a thumbs up or a hell yeah in the comments if I'm deserving of it at least. And I'm off to watch more anime for now. As always, you guys rock, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys!